So I promised someone a video this weekend, and I didn't want to continue being a liar to people who follow me. So here we go. And honestly, the last, I don't know, 10 months or whatever, my life has probably like 8 months. My life has just been school kind of stuff. And sure, it's interesting to me, but I don't think it's interesting to y'all. But as of late, there have been some sort of other events happening that have been good and have been really bad. And that might make for an interesting update video. And like, I'm actually going to try to put some amount of like production value in this video, so that's new. But so I guess sequentially, I the first thing is that I am very recently single, and that has been really hard, and that actually really sucks. But also, it was something that sort of came about that I think was like the least, well, like obviously in a lot of these instances, but like the least painful thing to happen. And I feel like my breakup was just coming from a place of like not wanting sort of like the pressures and the stressors of a long distance relationship to like really fuck up my connection with someone. Specifically when it became about like not less the distance and more the time for me. And it was something I was like really grappling with for a while before it happened. Um, and I kind of communicated a little bit, but also I didn't do the best job of communicating a lot of my feelings, and that's that's the thing. And I don't know what else to say about that. So that took place just before my sort of spring break trip to Southern California, and that trip started off just as like a, let me hang out with my grandmother because she's been going through it, and I am really close with her, and I want to hang out with her. And like ever since I came out, her and I have just been like like the closest people in the family, I guess. Um, in terms of just like talking and calling and gossiping, and she's always just calling me up and like gossiping about other family members, which is just really funny because like we both talk about like just minding our own business and like other people being nosy, but like truthfully, like we're both nosy as fuck. And everyone else in my family is like really like, or on that side of the family, just like doesn't communicate at all with each other or their feelings, or like none of that happens. Then her and I are like the most talkative vocal people. So um, and I hadn't seen her in a couple years. So so I flew out there. Initially, it was supposed to be a trip just to hang out with her in Palm Springs, and then it sort of morphed into my uncles wanting me to stay with them or offering their place, which is really cool. And they live in LA, and so that sort of turned into like I wonder if I can possibly see people who I know from YouTube, Tumblr, college. Um, and that last part sort of didn't work out the way I wanted it to. But also because I was born there and spent the first like half of my childhood there, I historically have like not had a good relationship with Los Angeles and Southern California, only because I associate it with like boring ass family trips. But this time it was finally like, oh, this is a trip that I'm planning, and I find this is my first adult trip to this my home state. Like I can go where I want to go, I can see who I want to see, I have money, like I have income. I budgeted for this trip, so I had like more than enough money to like Uber or like, bitch, I don't take Uber, Lyft everywhere. And yeah, so the first leg, I was with my grandmother. We were in Palm Springs, which I thought of as just like a boring desert city. Um, since my childhood has become gayer and gayer and gayer, and so now it was really fun, and I enjoyed so many spaces there. And my grandmother um, is just really tight with so many gay people, and um, facilitated my enjoyment of that city. And also, she's probably our family historian, and so she has all of these photos and documents and notes and letters, and like it was just a gag because she would like point to a photo that was like really old and be like, that's your great 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 grandmother, and she was born into slavery, and like this was her name or whatever. And um I took that information, I wrote it down, and I went and researched it later, and like was able to find like documents on like Southern University archives pertaining to a specific plantation that my ancestors were on, and specifically like a document that freed my ancestors from slavery. And like that had never been a connection that had been made before. Like my grandmother's archive with literally just me Googling shit. So that was wild, and that was really cool. And now I have a PDF of like all these important documents just on my phone, like on my computer. After that leg of the trip, I was in Los Angeles with my uncles, and I don't know if they still actually watch my videos because I know they did for a brief period of time. So I'm actually like kind of embarrassed if they're actually watching this, but they just have like a really really nice place in LA, and this is my first time like really just being able to go and hang out with them and kiki with them and like just be able to playfully like throw shade and talk about old family things in like just a way that I don't think, even though I was 16 when I was last with them and I was still out at that time, I think I was an awkward teenager and they didn't know like how to deal with me at that age or my brother at that age during that trip. I even documented that trip on YouTube, but now I'm grown. And so um, I was able to talk in depth sort of about my queer experience with my uncles, and they told me about theirs. And it was just like the first time I really have been able to like connect on that level with other queer people, LGBT people in my family. And that shit was really cool, honestly. And like, also, again, kind of like Palm Springs, where it's like, as a child, I thought, oh, this is like a regular town. Like, this is a boring ass city out here in California. Like, it's nothing special. Now it's become like this super gay, super interesting kind of place to visit. My uncles sort of occupied a similar space where, like, before, like, I thought, like, okay, this is just, this is I mean, as a child, my uncle was like one of my favorite family members, but still, just like, oh, this is like a regular ass person, like not that interested in like connecting with them specifically. And then now as an adult, I'm just like, oh, like we have a lot of parallel experiences, and we have had to navigate those experiences like in the same family, so dealing with a lot of the same sort of dynamics. And like, you're really cool, and talking with you is really nice. And also, they took me to like a place where they sort of went really early on in their relationship, like 2 decades ago, and it's still a gay club in LA. And like, just being able to be in that space, I got completely intoxicated under the influence of whatever, like other things. And it was just really fun. And like, I don't know how to really characterize my weekend staying with them other than by saying like I just had a good fucking time and we queened the fuck out. I don't want to be too nostalgic in front of y'all, but it was just like a really interesting place. And that trip was kind of exactly what I needed um, after or like sort of processing the breakup that had just happened before that trip because um, I don't know, like just being able to connect and realize that I do have some kind of support structure, even if it's just like, even if it's people 3,000 miles away from where I live. And just sort of revealing that support structure that seems new to me was really good for me. Everyone was really loving, everyone was really affirming. And like, truthfully, it kind of makes me want to move back out to California and like live there as an adult and build these connections up even further because I haven't been there in like over a decade, and like I like to live, and I do want to have a relationship with my extended family now. And this is all just like, this might seem basic, but like these are all completely sort of new things to me. And bitch, I just had to hit the ground running coming back from North Carolina, which is clearly very different from Los Angeles. And like, I don't know, like busying myself with like sort of academia stuff. I'm included in so many new projects now. Um, I have to read a lot, I have to write a lot. Like that's nothing new. That's what my videos would be about if I made them pretty regularly. Like, oh shit, I have to read these books and I have to write these papers and talk to these people. It has been like the open house admitted students day for the incoming cohort in my grad program, and like that's been interesting because I personally like, these are people who already were accepted, and like um, so like they're done with the application process and they're sort of just like seeing if they want to commit to our school. And I have a vested interest in like more people of color and like more queer people and more just like people on the margins in general being in this program. Less of a like, I need like representation, because I have so many like qualms with representation being um an ends to something rather than a means to something. But like, it's more about like, okay, I'm in this building, I'm in this department, like almost like 12 hours a day essentially, and like I love it here, but also it's just like a really really white space and a white school. And like, how do I make this space better for me? How do I make this space an easier place to work on projects that are sort of interesting and like breaking the mold? And how do I have these conversations where I don't feel like I'm educating someone just by like being in a space with them? Like I want to be able to have like a back and forth that actually helps me out. Because like that's how a lot of like liberal white people sort of treat these sort of situations, right? Where like sure it's like good to have, you know, a black person, a queer person, a trans person, whatever, in a space with them so they like learn things. But like, think about the trans person, think about the black person. Like, are they learning things? Like, in no situation are we learning something new about white people when we have to uncover how they harm us or project violence or frame problems in a completely different way. I don't learn anything new, bitch. Like, I'm using energy that I could use towards advancing my own goals, and now it's being directed to like you having an aha moment. And like, girl, like, so like that's something that I've sort of had to deal with, re-entering white spaces essentially. And I'm really grateful in that like late last night, at sort of the wrap-up party for the open house, I had a great conversation with a black professor who I really look up to, about that, and she sort of helped me crystallize a lot of my thoughts and my feelings, especially because she knows all of the personalities involved, and like she's, I mean, she's in the department. But yeah, girl, like I'm doing okay, and I think that's all I want to kind of reveal in this update right now. I have to do a lot of work. It is almost 7 p.m. My day is kind of just starting because I like woke up, ate a bunch of carbs during brunch, came home, watched some things, went back to sleep. Suddenly it was 5 p.m. So I kind of like need to get my shit together. Being back here and like not not being in California, honestly, is kind of putting me in a weird emotional place where I'm sort of forced to sit with my feelings and sort of forced to sit with my decisions and process my breakup. That's been easier some days, harder other days. Um, but yeah, so I hope this video was good enough for you. I'm gonna try to like kind of edit a little bit, y'all. I'm not gonna do too much,